Good morning. Here's our devotion for Saturday morning. Matthew 16, 1 through 4. The Pharisees and the Sadducees came, and to test him, they asked him to show them a sign from heaven. He answered them, "When it is evening, you say, 'It'll be fair weather, for the sky is red.' And in the morning, 'It will be stormy today, for the sky is red and threatening.' You know how to interpret the appearance of the sky, but you cannot interpret the signs of the times. An evil and adulterous generation seeks for a sign, but no sign will be given to it except the sign of Jonah." So he left them and departed. You know, there's an old Boy Scout thing that said, "Red sky at night, sailors delight. Red sky at morning, sailors take warning." And that's what Jesus says here in this little passage. They ask for a sign from heaven, and he says, you know how to predict the weather based on the signs that you see in the sky. But you don't know how to interpret the signs of the times. The sign of the times is an interesting concept. So many people these days believe, it's the end of the world, the end is near, what'll we do? And there are endless YouTube videos seeking to explain and interpret to you the signs of the times. I had a professor many years ago who said, let's be honest, it's not the end of the world, but it is the end of Christendom, the end of the domination of the church in social and political life. That's what's happening. And I think he was right. That really does seem to be what's going on in our world. Give you a simple example. When I was a kid, no one did anything on Sunday morning. You couldn't even shop. Now, you're lucky to have time to go to worship before you have to be at your job. Or more commonly, there's soccer, field hockey, every kind of sport has their tournaments on weekends, and so the playoff games are usually Sunday morning. And so, things have changed. We all know that. And we sometimes wring our hands and say, if we could only go back. Well, we're not going to get back to that. That's gone. Let's face it, that's gone. And what we're longing for when we want to go back to that sort of Christian America is going back to a time when we had a certain political power in the church. And as I say, those days are long gone. So let's just forget about that and move forward. Jesus says, learn to interpret the signs of the times. So we have to learn how to do mission and evangelism in a world where the government mostly doesn't care what we do. Now, sometimes the government will say, the church is pretty good at this, so we'll let you guys build the ramps or paint the houses or do that work. But if you want any funding, you have to give up your religious convictions and things like that. So, we're in this weird middle ground a lot of the time. How do we interpret the signs of the times? That's a question that we need to ponder and discuss and think about in the church. Jesus says the only sign you're going to get is the sign of Jonah. Well, what does that mean? Jonah, remember, disobeyed God and was thrown into the Mediterranean, where a big fish swallowed him up. And he lived inside the fish for 3 days and 3 nights while he prayed, "Oh God, deliver me from this." And the fish finally spit him up on the shore of on the beach somewhere, vomited him forth. None of that could have been pleasant, but that's what happened to Jonah. And so we see Jonah is buried, as it were, for 3 days and 3 nights. Jesus himself will be killed and put in the tomb for 3 days, and the third day he will rise. And so what he means there is the only sign you're going to get is the sign of my death and resurrection, which is a pretty good sign, let's be frank, but I don't know that the Pharisees would have gotten it. So think about that and think about the signs of the times and how we are to interpret them and what we can do about our place in this society. And we'll see you Monday morning.